Today, we are going to cover the most broken metas throughout the history of Rust. But instead of talking about it, let me just show you. To make this video easier for you guys to follow, I decided to separate Rust into 4 timelines. First off, we got the oldest version of Rust, which is Legacy Rust. Then we have the Rust version that was the first resemblance to proper Rust. Then we have Prime Rust, which had the cool clans of recoil, and the newest version of Rust, which is after the HDRP overhaul. Now, in Legacy Rust, there were a lot of different metas, but the most notable ones were the secret base metas. The first one was a water base. So the way you made your water base was using these planks and a lot of parkour. This needed a lot of patience and accuracy, because as soon as you fell in the water, you would die. But the benefit of this was the fact that it was super hidden, and almost no one came to raid it because it was such an annoying process. Next up, we had amazing cliff bases, where you had to build up a bridge to get to. These were super easy to defend and also quite hidden.
We do need more windows though.
I gave Royal a whole stack of wood.
Yeah, no, I have.
We're throwing walls on this area though, because we do want like the transition zone to be kind of safe. If you can catch my drift.
So I don't think I can make this
Great Wall of Rust.
Then of course we have the rock bases that required you to glitch inside the texture. It's such an OG thing in Rust. And now my favorite meta, which was the bases on the side of the map. These were one of the best bases you could build because they were in such a good spot to get loot from. And also, I mean, just by looking at it you will understand how sick it was. It required you to use airdrops to glitch down the side and build your base. The first person who came up with this must have been out of his mind. Like, what is this? Now moving on to Old Rust. During Old Rust, the building changed quite drastically and started to change to what we have now. But of course, it wasn't perfect. Or some may say it was perfect. Now, let me explain. Back then, upkeep worked very differently from what it does now. I'm pretty sure at one point, there wasn't even any upkeep at all, so you just had a tool cupboard and your base was there forever until it got raided, right? Eventually it did get added to the game, but I don't think it was that much. So thanks to that, you were able to build these huge castle bases that were super easy to defend and were really boxy. It was quite funny to see. But that wasn't the limit that there was to building. There were also a bunch of other glitches that were super meta. Like for example, stacking walls on top of each other and doorways as well. That allowed to make these small bases almost close to indestructible, which was very funny to see. I can't even imagine what the modern builders would be able to do with this, if this was still a thing nowadays. Now next up we got the night vision NVIDIA settings. Now for all those who don't know, Rust was actually playable during nighttime at one point. Yes, I know this might be a stretch to your imagination now, but back then, this was actually the shit. You were able to PvP during nighttime if you had the right settings. Well, you were able to PvP anyway, but with the right settings, it was super easy to see your enemy during night. I thought I'd also add this to the video. I remember being able to see my base during nighttime, but that's really not a thing nowadays. By the way, this command still works, but it's not that good. But that's not all. This thing is pissing me off. Check out how you go inside buildings during daytime and your entire screen is purely black. I cannot see during daytime. Face punch, please fix. There was also the P2 and crossbow meta. Back then, they were super usable weapons, and I'm pretty sure you were able to one-shot with the crossy. I might be wrong on this, you might be able to quote me, but if you shot him in the back of the head or in the eye, I think it was a one-shot kill. And also the P2 was super overtuned, which allowed for great PvP. And now, let's not forget the Hapless Caves. That made it possible for you to build some crazy bases. I never did play in these caves, but I've heard from friends that it was super busted and it was really fun to live in. Let me show you how deep these bases actually went. Like if you look at the cave, it's crazy big. And the entrance is really small, so it allowed you to make multiple layers of honeycombing, which was super nice. At this point, you might be thinking to yourself, has this guy forgotten? No, I have not. The M9 meta. At one point, the M9 didn't have a limit to how many clicks per second you can do, right? Which meant you could spray that gun. A pistol, you could spray a pistol like it was an AK. It went super fast. And a lot of people actually preferred the M9 to most guns in the game, even the AK sometimes. If this was still a thing, I'd be using the M9 all the time. I would go straight to Outpost and buy an M9. I can't even imagine how much fun this was. And the person who was the face of the M9 gun was Frost. Yes, that same Frost who does cinematics nowadays used to be a demon at this game with the M9. Bro was mauling down people like it was nothing. Check it out for yourself.
What the hell was that M9 too, dude? What the hell was that, dude? Did you hear that? What the fuck?
Now let's talk about raiding in Old Rust. Some of you might think about how you could switch the rocket launcher super fast and spam out rockets, right? But no, there was something better. It was eco-raiding in Old Rust. Now, most of you might not even know what this item is nowadays, but it was the Bone Club. It was great watching these baboons slam down doors. I'll quickly find a clip for it, but it was super efficient because you can just kill an animal or your teammate, get some bones and make a bone club, and now you're through the front door. It made for some great entertainment, and I wish this was still a thing nowadays, because if that was still a thing, Fancy would do some crazy stuff with that. Now, there's also this one secret raiding meta that used torches. I don't know much about this, but back in the day, you were able to raid bases using torches. It's super weird, check it out for yourself. I wonder what the logic behind this was. Did it get darker the more it got hit or something? I'm not sure. Moving forward to building metas, you were able to build some really weird bases because there was no build limit at one point. Well, there was some stability, but it wasn't really effective. And not just that, you were also able to build on monuments, most notably Dome. I'm not sure if you were able to build on other monuments, but I definitely know that you were able to build on Dome, which made some pretty crazy bases. Imagine having your base on top of Dome. Like, what? How is that even a thing?
Example of that. We're going to take a look at another example of a base built on a monument here, guys. I saw this base built on a satellite dish, and I really haven't seen a design like this before. I'm sure people have tried to build on the satellite before. I've certainly seen people build under the satellite, but I've yet to see one actually inside the satellite or on top of this.
Now, moving on to OG Rust. This was the prime Rust, at least for me. I started playing as soon as this update came out. It was most notable for its recoil and clans. Now let's talk about the metas. First off, does anyone remember this sound? Yeah, don't even mention it. I don't want to hear it. That bow was the bane of my existence. I did not want to go out with a metal kit when I knew that my neighbor had this bow. Because shit, just think about it. You needed a tier 1 and you could craft a bolty basically. Some guys took this to another level and used this bow main as their main weapon in team and / clan fights, and they were super efficient with it as well. They would take down multiple people with a compound bow because it was silent as well. So basically, you had a silent bolty tier 1. Like what? What was this weapon, man?
Headshot another one. He's dead.
Oh my god.
We got the infamous oil rig update. Now, for the first couple of weeks, I think the respawn timer or something about it was super overpowered. I didn't play for the first few weeks. But after that, I started playing Oil Rig. And what made Oil Rig so special was the fact that the crate was outside, you could loot a fuse room that gave you boxes, and what else? Oh, and there was a recycler as well, so you never had to touch ground, right? So what people did was take bows, go on a boat as a clan, and just run Oil Rig 5 minutes into wipe. I remember going up the stairs with 20 nakeds and taking down heavies next to these staircases. Man, those were the days, bro. It was so broken. No wonder Face Punch had to nerf that thing at least 3 times. Oh yeah, you were also able to place bags on the side of Oil Rig at one point, so you could respawn on Oil Rig. I'm not even joking, next to the fireplace, you were able to place bags. Next up, we got the infamous minicopter update. So when people started using minicopters, most of them had the same experience as me by flying them into the forest and crashing right away, crashing and burning, right? But after a little while, people started realizing that it was super busted, especially on wipe day. You could fly that thing straight to monuments, and to Oil Rig, and on top of launch site, and stuff like that. But for a solid 2 months, there was a glitch that made the minicopter meta even more broken than it was before. You were able to glitch inside most monuments by switching seats and just jumping out. And that was not all. Back then, launch site didn't have many SAM sites. So if you're good at minicopter, you could also dodge the SAM sites and save your mini by flying on top of the main building. Fun fact, it's still possible today, but it's super hard to pull off. Now, let's not forget horsegang. I mean, is there anything else I need to say about it? Just some heavy pop freaks who move as fast as a car and take no damage.
Oh, we're dead. Is this shit?
You're all dead. You're all dead. There's so many. There's at least 12.
Oh my god. I'm done with this server. I'm done.
Now, moving on to new Rust. There are a lot of strong metas right now in the game, but my favorite one is the HDRP quarry meta. So recently, there was a big update that changed every quarry in Rust. Previously, you had to use low grade to get, I don't know, stone, metal, sulfur and stuff. But now you have to use diesel, and it gives you a lot more resources for the diesel. But what makes this strategy even more powerful is the fact that they also changed the diesel spawn on monuments, making it super easy to get diesel. Now think about it, everyone has diesel, but they have nothing to do with it. So if you have the HDRP quarry to yourself, you can monopolize it and get infinite amount of HDRP. I myself got 10,000 high quality metal as a solo, just to prove a point. Now, the way you play Rust has also changed with the new players that come to Rust, alright? Basically, there are big servers nowadays that hold more than 1,000 players at the same time. This didn't used to be the case. It used to be I don't know, 200 and 300 players, alright? And if you ever thought to yourself, what is the respawn timer on crates in Rust? And the answer you get is that it's relative to how many players are on the server. And never before have been crate respawns been this fast, so Rust has changed quite drastically. The way you used to play Rust was running around, hitting barrels, killing people, and doing keycard puzzles. But nowadays, you take one monument and you just sit on top of it. The best example of this is Dome, because it has a lot of choke points and is easy to hold. There's no reason for big clans to hit the roads or anything, because it's unsafe and you can easily get ambushed from bushes. Instead, they just sit on Dome, wait there 1 to 3 minutes for a crate, and then just go back to base. Now, this last one is, I don't know, protection to the future, right? A guess in the future. I recently saw these two things that got added to Rust that I think will completely change the way we play Rust. One of them is the attack helicopter, and the second one is the parachute. Now, I haven't tested these out for myself, so you can definitely correct me in the comments. But this is just a guess. I'm pretty sure you are able to jump into launch height with the parachute. And I think I even saw HDRP build a tower and jump from the tower without using a minicopter or anything. Go straight to launch height. So basically you just skip the red keycard. You skip it altogether, right? And if you're on a 1k pop server, you can keep looting these 4 green crates in launch for a really long time. And if you're really smart, there are some points in the main building of launch site that actually don't give you any rads. So guys, go check it out. And the second thing that I'm projecting that's going to be super overpowered in the upcoming meta, it's the makeshift attack helicopter. What makes it super overpowered is the speed that it fires rockets at. And I saw that it was possible to load in real rockets. So you can pummel bases in seconds. This is super destructive. I wonder how the clan scene will change after this. Never mind, they just removed rockets. But you can still shoot incendiary rockets and HV rockets, right? With this, you can easily shoot out turrets on top of the roof. I saw someone make a video on that. And you can also use incendiaries to block out the defenders in the enemy team. So basically, they won't be able to build because there's fire. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. If there's any mistakes, make sure to point them out. And join the Discord so you can help me with my new videos.